Um,
So we're sorry, folks who are listening to this on recording, you missed our introductions and everything.
but that's okay.
But that's okay. You didn't miss much.
The introductions are boring. All right. So we're going to talk about new bills. I was really excited to see HB4. That's the voting rights protections, which I believe is the omnibus voting rights bill. It's very similar to last year's. It has, sorry, I didn't have my notes out here and ready. It makes Election Day a holiday.
Yay.
Yeah. It improves access to for Native American communities, voting in Native American communities. It creates a volunteer but permanent absentee voter list. It reinstates voting rights for felons as soon as they're released. It makes vote by mail more accessible. So that bill has been introduced, HB4, Voting Rights Protections, and it is scheduled to be heard on Friday morning in House Government Elections and Indian Affairs. And I sent an alert out a couple of hours ago with the info about that hearing. The next one, I was even more excited to hear, or to see, I should say, is HB7, which is Reproductive and Gender Affirming Healthcare Freedom Act. So this is the bill that they've, at least as far as we know, it's not a constitutional amendment though. But what it's going to do is it will include psychological, behavioral, surgical, pharmaceutical, medical care for to support anything to do with gender identity, and also anything around pregnancy, abortion, pregnancy loss, STDs. So, and it prohibits any discrimination against a person who uses those services, and it also prohibits punishment or prosecution for any of those types of health care, whether you're delivering them or receiving them. So that's HB7, Reproductive and Gender Affirming Healthcare Freedom Act. And that too is scheduled for a hearing on Friday morning in Health and Human Services, House Health and Human Services, Friday morning, also at 8:30. I was like, those are two bills I really want to follow, but they happen to be scheduled at the same time. So anyway, those two are coming up. You want to tell us about the next one, Paul? Yeah. Oh, wait.
Martha.
Somebody's got a question. Yeah, go ahead. Indeed.
Yeah.
Can Martha Bird please move her camera down, as the ceiling fan is causing strobing with the lights behind it, and it is seizure-inducing. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry about that. Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Okay. So SB 290 is the long-awaited Health Security Act bill, but it's not called Health Security, and no one should talk about it that way. It's basically, we're concerned that the governor would just veto any bill, or that it wouldn't get through the House or Senate or one of the other chambers if it was labeled as House Security. There's a lot of money involved in stopping this bill because in this process, because a big part of it, and this is the bill that they've introduced, is about studying, actually I don't even use the word study, analyzing the strategies that can curb the drivers of cost increases in healthcare.
So they're not going to introduce the Health Security Act. This is what they're introducing this year that's related to that.
And it's asking for $400,000 to continue the design process and answer the questions that were part of the design process, but do it under a different label, so that it would be much more difficult. It would be difficult for the governor to veto a bill to examine how to reduce healthcare costs. I mean, that's not an easy sell as being something I oppose. So that's the strategy.
SB 290, Healthcare Cost Drivers Analysis.
They're also hoping to use junior money to help fund that. I have been told by Senator Worth that won't fly. And I've told Mary Feldblum that. She keeps talking about it as if it will. So
And that was introduced by Senator Jerry Ortiz y Pino. I just a quick second for a question that Ray Allen put in the chat. Yeah, I think other people were having trouble with Senate committees this afternoon. Somebody was, who was Karen, who was observing a committee for us. I thought, I couldn't tell whether it was just because the Senate floor session went long, and so they were starting the committees late or not, because I was just going.
I tried for like an hour and a half after. I tried up until 3:30. I tried up until 3:30 p.m. and I never could get in.
Huh? Were you getting
my committee meeting started at 4 o'clock. I never understood why of the delay.
Right, that's what it looked like. They were
okay.
They were
I
really
just didn't wait long enough.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they weren't saying why, but they were saying, "Oh, we're going to start pretty soon."
So one way to be able to prevent that is to watch the floor hearing, especially towards the end, because the chair of the committee will say immediately after the adjournment of the floor session, we're going up to House Health and Human Services to start our committee meeting. Or you'll hear somebody say the Democratic caucus is going to be meeting for half an hour and
in
then,
between,
and then we'll have hearings. So you can get a clue by watching the floor hearing. And if they're down there still talking, they're not going to committee.
Right. I mean, it doesn't really let you off the hook though, because you still have to track you have to track the floor hearing right. To go, oh, now that's over. And then this other thing's going to start. The afternoon hearings are a total pain for that reason. And I know sometimes they don't start, well, like Rich said, started at 4. Sometimes they'll start even later than that, especially the further we get into the session. So I don't know, not much we can do about that. But also the committee that was hearing the SB 99, the rent, appealing the rent control, dropped a bunch of their other bills too. Oh, sorry, we're not going to be hearing this, and this. This is what Karen told me. But luckily, the one that she was on for, I hope, was heard. So they were sending messages.
SB 99 was killed, and
yeah, it was tabled.
It was
tabled.
So that means it's over.
Yeah,
it's pretty over. The only cogent reason I've heard for opposing it that I've heard is from Jerry Ortiz y Pino that it would create a patchwork and really mess up the housing market. They probably should do rent control at the state level. A form of rent control anyway, not a rent freeze, which people were saying.
Right, because this
there's
bill
nowhere in the country that does it statewide. It's a patchwork everywhere.
Communities are different. Some communities need it, some don't. So I think they should leave it up to the local municipalities. I don't know.
Not gonna happen.
That's our first loss, damn it.
Yeah, I was about to say later, all of the bills we've supported that have gone to committee have passed, but not all. One did not. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, 2 more new-ish bills, but these are both bills that we oppose.
HB 174 is the underground injection fund. And I wrote about that I think on Monday. It's all blurred to me right now. Maybe it was Sunday on a blog. And I'm in the process of preparing a 1-pager on it. But basically, there's so much wrong with this. It's unbelievable. And the FIR, the Fiscal Impact Report, makes it very clear that the state has been going forward with the development of hub activities, despite the legislature rejecting it so many times last session. They even state that we've got projects lined up for years, and we need the feds to give us private primacy authority over these injection wells so that we can officially regulate them. And our view on that is they haven't regulated anything else. What makes you think they're going to regulate this?
Right. Yeah. I see your hands up, Indy, but hold on just 1 second, because I just want to say about this bill is it feels sneaky too. It says nothing about hydrogen. It's amending the Water Quality Act. It's funding injection wells, and it's all about injecting CO2 back deep into the ground for carbon sequestration. and hydrogen production. So, but they never say anything about hydrogen. It's just
they never also say anything about the risks. If you go to the energy department's, the environment department's website, they have a thing on hydrogen there, a whole page about it. And they don't offer any kinds of concerns that there could be risks involved in any of this, financial or environmental. And yet I did a quick search, risk of environmental harm from CO2 injections. And the first thing that came up was a study from the EPA warning that it could cause damage to the aquifer.
And pollute the groundwater. The drinking water, aquifers.
So, they don't even talk about there being any risk, and they just don't care.
Okay, Indy, go ahead.
Some of the committees begin meeting on the weekends as of this weekend because so many things are getting backed up. Some delays have been due to a shortage of bill drafters in Legislative Council service.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. I know, I can't believe we're just over 2 weeks in and we still got, I shouldn't say it, still got 6 weeks to go. Yikes. I said to Paul today, I said, if this work was spread out over a 6-month period, we could just spend a few hours a week and get it done. I'm talking about volunteers like us. But the fact that it's crammed into 30 or 60 days just makes it so much more stressful. And it also is inefficient for the legislators in terms of being able to get to all these bills. It's crazy.
Well, speaking of problems with the legislature, I've gotten a text from both Matthew McQueen and Liz Stefanik that COVID is going around, and it's not just 1 or 2 cases.
Yeah, they mentioned that
even 2 or 3
in
cases.
New Mexican.
And nobody's wearing masks, and it's just and in one committee hearing, Liz Stefanik made a comment about it. She goes, "I really appreciate it if people wore masks, and when they're outside, they in the halls they maintain a 6-foot distance. That's not a requirement, but I'm just hoping you'll do it." Yeah. And people just ignore it.
Well, I think we could all sort of see this coming. A lot of people grouped together in small spaces, but I hope it doesn't turn out to be a huge issue. Just to go back to the chat, Bob was asking, the bill number of that health bill is the one we talked about already, SB 290, healthcare cost drivers analysis. And all these bills, by the way, I added several bills to the list today. They may have been on there as a mention, but I added the actual bill numbers and links to the bill language and that sort of thing. So you'll find all these on our website, retakeourdemocracy.org, under NM legislation. Okay, one more newish bill that we are opposing is SJR 5, the Constitutional Convention. And I probably don't need to tell you all about that one.
I've had some serious arguments with people who are real progressive, who think this is a way to get money out of politics. We could take a look at, and it is a way that you could put that in a new constitution or an amended constitution.
It's too
but
risky.
There's too many other things you could do, like taking away all kinds of constitutional rights.
Well, and it's introduced by Republican reps Crystal Diamond and Cliff Pirtle, so that should tell you enough about why it's probably not a good bill. But it basically, several states have already approved this, but it requires 2/3 of all the states to propose amendments to the U.S. Constitution that will impose fiscal restraints on federal government, limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government. Sounds Republican, doesn't it? And limit the terms of office for federal officials and members of Congress. And who knows, I mean, if 2/3 of the states approve this, who knows what they would try to do. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I do think we're definitely outnumbered in terms of Republican states versus Democratic states. We're not outnumbered in numbers of people, but, if it's a state by state thing, some damage could be done. Definitely. So that's SJ.
I don't think it'll go anywhere.
SJR 5.
It may not even get a hearing.
Yeah. let's hope. All right, so pretty quickly. Oh wait, I think there was another question. Ralph Rons is asking, oh, do we know, Rich, who introduced the motion to table on SB 99?
Yeah, let me think. It was one of the Republicans, but surprisingly, the only two senators who voted against tabling were Antoinette and Brenda McKenna. I thought Mo Maestas was starting to come around. He said he thought rent control was necessary, some kind of rent control was necessary, and then he voted to table it. Although he might not have known what was going on because he just came back from out of the room. But yeah, it was very strange.
Yeah. Okay. I know. And
Bill
Laura
Bill Coleman kept saying over and over again that rent control wouldn't work. He didn't offer any specifics, but so yeah.
Okay. Thanks. And thank you, Laura, for that link to Alex Greenberg's presentation on the hydrogen hub. Yeah. And I guess what I meant when I said they're being sneaky about it, the bill, I think they're slipping these bills in without adding any, buzzwords like hydrogen or carbon sequestration, because they know that those are red flags for people. But yes, the state is moving forward aggressively with hydrogen hub. So I don't know if we're going to be able to stop it or not. It's not true that nobody's wearing masks. I'm sure that's probably right. All yes, right. That Paul tends to be a little hyperbolic sometimes.
Matthew said he's the only one, so maybe Rachel saw Matthew.
Okay, so now let's talk really quickly. We don't need to talk about any of these, but I just sort of went through today and I noticed there's several bills that have been assigned to committee that have been around for a couple of weeks or more. Some of these were introduced before the session started. Almost all of them have been around at least 2 weeks, and they have not been scheduled for a hearing yet. HB 100, that's the 14-day waiting period for firearm sales. And that's House Consumer and Public Affairs. HB 101, large capacity magazines and assault weapons, banning those. That's also House Consumer and Public Affairs. And they don't, sometimes people say, oh, well, you got to get your bill in because the lower the number is, the sooner they'll hear it. It doesn't really work that way. They are hearing bills that were introduced and are numbered far later.
That's just in the Senate.
Later than these. Oh, really? Okay. Also, two tax bills, HB 119 and 120. 119 is income tax bracket changes. I think these are both introduced by Chris Chandler. We talked about them last week, I believe.
Right.
120 is to limit the capital gains tax deduction. That might be Peter. Oh no, that can't be Peter. He's Senate. Anyway, those are both in-house tax and revenue. They've been around for a couple of weeks. There's the radioactive waste storage bill. HB
no scheduling on the tax bill. No scheduling yet.
Right. No, nothing yet. I went through and checked all of these today. HB 122, storage of certain radioactive waste. I think that's Steinborn's bill. That is in-house energy, environment, and natural resources. Has not been scheduled yet. Been there since the start.
Talking about energy.
Wasn't that scheduled in the Senate though?
Yes.
Oh, the Senate version.
Yeah.
And sometimes the Senate version will go through. It doesn't matter what happens to the other one. So
I believe the Senate is the Judiciary Committee is maybe going to hear it tomorrow. I should know by tomorrow.
Oh, the Senate version.
The Senate version, yeah. No, I don't mean tomorrow. I mean Friday. I think they're going to hear it on Friday, but nothing's definite that I know of. I'll let you know.
I'm just looking to see what.
So one thing I just want to alert folks to, and this is based on conversation with a couple of legislators, and that is that some committee chairs may not hear bills if they don't feel it has a chance to pass through the whole legislature, because they don't want, there's a time crunch, and if they spend 3 hours on a bill and pass it, and then it just is tabled or it just doesn't have can't get through, or dies in the other chamber, they spent the time for nothing, or that's their view. And that's what we're concerned about local choice energy and the Green Amendment. So.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, ND. Don't hear anything. You're muted. Okay. No, I don't think so. ND, did you have something to ask or to say? Okay. All right. Well, we'll get back to you then. There is something in the chat about HB 230. I think that is on our second tier list. If it's the one, sorry, I'm just gonna look it up really quick.
So while she's doing that, I will update you
in the chat.
Oh, go ahead.
In the chat.
Okay, yeah, I saw that in the chat. Yeah, that bill's not on our list, but since you put it up there, we will take a look at it and see if it's something we want to support. I just have to confession to make. I know we've said this so many times before we started. We are keeping the bills to 15 bills. Okay.
No.
I counted them. Yes, we did.
No.
We said 10.
I know, but we didn't.
I counted them today. There are 27 bills on the high priority list. It's just impossible to make this work. I don't know. We're not capable of keeping the bill list short. So we're doing the best we can.
So I wanted to just update people on local choice energy just a little bit. Yesterday we were at and Marty was there. We were at the Santa Fe County Commission and presented. There were about 7 or 8 of us in person and I don't know, 10 on the Zoom speaking in favor of it. And there was strident and very specific opposition from unions. And despite that, it passed, the endorsement of it passed unanimously, which is very helpful for us to be able to show to the legislatures that there are communities that want to do this. And then, can you speak up? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I think the papers are.
Well, and Bernalillo County.
And Bernalillo County also endorsed it unanimously. But the most important thing that happened was in the hallway afterwards, where Alicia Shaw, the campaign director, and I spoke with the labor union reps who were there, and it was a great conversation. And I have a hunch we're going to be able to secure a, if not an endorsement, at least a quiet, taking no position. But I think we might even get an.
You mean from the labor unions?
From the labor unions.
Okay.
And we've
well, at least they can undo their opposition.
Right.
Yeah, right. We have heard that as long as there's strong opposition from labor, it'll never get through. So that was good.
So just going back to the bills that haven't been scheduled yet, just a few more. And then what we're going to do with this list, I'm going to keep an eye on these. And if they're still not scheduled in another week, I'm going to, in the alert, we will ask you to write to the committee chair and really try to push them to get it on the schedule. Committee chair and the vice chair, I guess, right?
Right.
Yeah. So HJR 2 and HJR 8, those are legislative session changes and legislative salaries. Those are the two that are around modernizing the legislature, making the 30-day session into 60 days.
Didn't I send you an email that said that they were probably going to be heard
but
Monday?
We just heard today that they might be heard on Monday, but so far they haven't been scheduled. So we're keeping an eye on that. We'll let you know if we see information, some solid information about them being heard on Monday. Green Amendment, HJR 4 and SJR 6 has not been scheduled in either the House or the Senate. So, get on the Zoom with us tomorrow and we'll talk about that and they can let us know what we should do. I think a note, if you're on the Green Amendment email list, they sent out a note today asking people to write to those committees. So we're not really asking you to do that yet, but if you get that note from Green Amendment, sure. And the last one is, local choice energy, but Paul already talked about that. It has not been scheduled yet. We hope that's not a bad sign.
No, okay. I'm sure. I mean, Bill's sponsor is Liz Stefanik, so I have a hunch, and it's in her committee, so she's going to hear it.
Okay, and Ralph is asking about, is Senator Souls going to sign on? Right now it's just Carrie Hamblin. Does it have other sponsors? We can ask them tomorrow. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's not Green Amendment. Local Choice Energy. Do you know anything about other sponsors?
Yeah, look it up. There's a House sponsor.
NM Lee just only shows one sponsor, being Carrie Hamlin, and I was just wondering if we could reach out. If you recall, my recollection, though vague, is that Senator Sewell had introduced something like a Local Choice Energy Act in past sessions.
I think you're right about that, but
I think what he did was enter a clean ETA bill. In other words, I don't remember if he did.
Remember that. I do remember that one. Okay, well, I won't keep you from going on.
You can look into that, right?
Yeah.
Where are the other sponsors in the House and the Senate? And is a bill going to be introduced in the House too?
Yes, I think it's Natalie Figueroa, but I'm looking it up now.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Paul looks that up. We can move forward. Do any of you have bills that you've heard about that you want us to know about, other than maybe one or maybe more than one that was put in the chat? Yeah, if you put it in the chat, we will look it up. Or do you have information about bills that you want to share tonight?
Hearing none.
Okay.
I have a couple. Probably you already mentioned this, Paul and Roxanne, but both minimum wage bills passed the committee and are on to, I think, Commerce and Economic Development, and the bill for increasing tobacco taxes and including other tobacco, all other kinds of tobacco or synthetic tobacco products, passed easily as well. So,
do you know what the numbers are for the minimum wage?
Yeah, HB 25. And HB 28 is the fallback, but HB 25 is the really, really good one.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
So Ralph's offering to give us an update on the Water Security Planning Act. Yeah, go ahead, Ralph.
Let's see, yeah, I'm not on mute. This is a tentative because we always seem so close to being able to call it final and that it can be introduced. But apparently the Interstate Stream Commission and the Office of the State Engineer are ready to make it a state agency bill. Norm Gaume used the term, he's hoping that Senator Stefanik will jacket it, which I guess means, okay, no more amendment, no more changes to the bill. It's ready to be introduced. So he, being Norm, was hopeful it could be introduced maybe as early as tomorrow, but that's a tentative. And that's what we're really hoping for. Okay. And we have reached out to hopefully get a House sponsor, but I'm not going to name any names just because I don't know for sure if this person will agree to do it, but we're trying to make it bicameral, bipartisan sponsorship.
Okay. Great. And just to remind everybody, the Water Security Planning Act was number one when we had Norm Gaume on last week or the week before.
Last
we
Wednesday.
asked him for their top 3, and that's the top priority. Is that right, Ralph? Right. Yeah. And that's the only one that, that's on our high priority list that hasn't dropped yet. So yeah, we've been keeping an eye out for that too. But if you can send us an email and let us know.
Then we don't as soon as we find out. Yep.
Yeah, then we don't have to dig around for it. Yeah. Another comment, indeed. Go ahead.
In the chat.
Okay. Chat, something in the chat.
Okay.
Jacketed means that the changes in LCS have ended and neither changes would be committee or floor amendments. Okay.
Thank you.
That's a great
that was my takeaway from what jacketed meant.
Detail. Thank you, Indy. Okay. Anybody else have something they want to share? We might end early tonight.
Well, we got tomorrow night too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And if there's anything you put in the chat that we didn't see, if you want to raise your hand, because once it starts to get long, it's hard for me to go back and catch things that we might have missed.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Here's a real hand up. Yeah, back on HB 174. Paul, your write-up, as I had already indicated to you in an email, it's so helpful. Your write-ups are so in-depth, so well-researched, so helpful to us. I think you hinted that you are wanting to put something on your list of priority bills, in this case, this one to be opposed.
It is on there.
It's on the list.
Oh, I guess I had not looked at that lately. Okay.
Yeah. Right. I don't know if anybody has suggestions. I mean, that list is so long now. I tried to group them into tried to group them into categories. And so it's all the high priority first, then it's the second tier, and then it's the opposition. So you really got to scroll down several screens to get to the bills we're opposing. But it's really just that HB 174 about the underground injection fund, the
SJR 5, right?
Constitutional
SJR 5,
Convention. Yeah. It's really just those two right now, right? But also down there is the.
So the trouble when I know Rich has his hand up. I'll just make it real quick. And I know you guys sense the urgency of this well. Is that SJR 5 probably does not have a chance to make it, but HB 174 I guess does, at least through the House, or at least through its next committee hearing, which is House Appropriations.
Oh, it'll sail through there.
Oh.
Yeah, it'll probably sail through there. But it just seems to me, my read of it, and then of course, even more, but what Paul wrote, it absolutely has to be number one on the opposition list, because it has, they're seeking 10 FTEs for this, which that will suck. I mean, in a legislature and an executive that does not want to give out FTEs, is very stingy with FTEs. For that to take 10, it would be decimating to the other organizations that need FTEs.
There's a lot of reasons. Absolutely, a lot of reasons. The thing that I want to mention and take a few minutes here is that one of the things that's becoming increasingly disheartening is the degree to which this administration will advance things in really duplicitous ways or bypass the legislative process altogether. I mean, with what we found in that injection wells thing was very clear evidence that they had just gone ahead and done all this work on hydrogen hubs without any authorization from the legislature. And somehow they have enough staffing in the Environment Department to anybody who saw that legislative financial, what is it? Legislative financial
fiscal impact.
LFC or FIR?
No. If you saw the hearing where they presented about hydrogen.
Oh, right. Before the session started.
Yeah. That was not done by just like one or two people. I mean, they've got a whole team working on this full time.
Yep.
And nobody said boo about authorizing that. And it was an executive decision on her part, and an executive order, and off we go. And what is the limit to an executive order on something like this? So there's a lot of other things are becoming more and more apparent about just obscuring the democratic process. And it's just like, we can't do anything except what the governor tells us she wants. And so one of the things, this is a circuitous way back to the O'Connell nomination.
We've got a couple hands up before you get to O'Connell, maybe.
Well, this is my closing thought.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So, O'Connell is just another one of those yes men for the governor, and we're hoping I mean, that whole process was such a joke. I mean, that this committee could have met for as long as it did and passed on such poorly qualified people, and then that she could pick a total bozo and more, and then who, you know, basically shot himself in the foot for the nomination, continually saying, I'm not qualified.
The one that then
he finally stepped down. And then another one who's so obviously got conflicts of interest and will do the utilities bidding. It's just appalling.
That's Patrick O'Connell. And of course, you probably already know, all of you, that he did say he would recuse himself if the PNM Avangrid merger comes up again, but
which then leaves
not
you
really
with
enough.
people deciding one of the most
That's
important
a huge thing.
decisions the state has ever
Yeah.
met.
Yeah, so stupid.
So it's just I mean, at some point I got to do something about the connecting the dots of all of this.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So Indy, yeah, sorry about the closed captioning. We will definitely work on that for next time. And is mentioning there's a town hall on this Saturday with Cinderworth and Ben Ray. Oh no, I think it's Tara Lujan.
Yeah, not Ben Ray.
Yeah, Cinderworth and Tara Lujan. We saw that. If you're in Santa Fe, I believe it's at 1420 Cerrillos.
No, it's not. It's at this.
Yeah, that's
no,
what I saw.
It's not.
Okay, well, that's what the Democrat Party said, but maybe.
Oh, they're wrong. Or somebody.
Did you have something else to add, Indy, or was that just what you wanted to note in the chat? Oh, okay. Hand down. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Then somebody said, yeah, not Ben Ray, Lujan, Tara Lujan. Yeah. Sorry, I can't. There's messages below, and I'm not getting to that. Somebody's commenting that Janelle, whose name is really hard to pronounce, was pulled out of the Aniananu was pulled out of the hearing and didn't get to vote on independent redistricting. Yeah, and Michael Spurberg McQueen was asking. It's going to judiciary, I guess, next. So that is on our second tier list. We just don't have the capacity to move that up, but we're definitely supporting it. So know that that did pass in the committee that heard it. I think it was yesterday or the day before, but it's expected to have a harder fight in judiciary. So if you want to write to them, that would probably help. Okay, yeah, see, and Indy's saying it's Saturday at Democratic Party headquarters. That's 1420 Cerrillos.
It is.
Yeah, yeah, and I see, yeah, so not Lujan. With the hydrogen, Elaine Gush is saying, with the hydrogen hearing before the session, didn't Patty Lundstrom have a lot to do with that? I think it's bigger than Patty Lundstrom. I think the whole, all these agencies and the whole government, state government seems to be pushing this forward. You know, I don't know whatever happened to separation of powers. It seems like our legislature just bows down to the governor for whatever we can do. Okay, there's some hands up. Let me just try to take them in order. And then I'll try to get to the other questions in the chat. Yeah, Rich.
I'm wondering if anybody else has looked at SJR 7, which is called open primaries and ranked choice voting, but it's primarily ranked choice voting. It would establish Alaska-style ranked choice voting. There wouldn't be a Democratic and Republican Party. It would be like the Albuquerque mayor election. And the top 5 would go for a ranked choice voting runoff, and Alaska gets the top 4. The more that go to the runoff, the more pure, the more closely resembles pure ranked choice voting. Seems like it's worthy of considering support.
Yeah, I think Dick Mason from League of Women Voters was on last week and was telling us about that one. So we do have some more information on it. We just haven't had time to really look that closely
at
and
it. Apparently, I think, Rich, you were telling me that it also precluded people swapping parties. It's just basically DTS.
No. That's not quite it. It's that there's no party primary at all under that. So rather than having a Democratic and Republican Party and whether people can swap or not an issue. It's just a nonpartisan election. People know.
That is like Alaska.
It is. You know, it's exactly like Alaska, except 5 to the runoff instead of 4. And look who we got rid of with ranked choice voting in Alaska, Sarah Palin.
Right.
What is that bill number?
It's SJR 7, Senate Joint Resolution.
Joint resolution. Yeah.
Bill Tallman.
Okay. Thanks, Rich. Let's go to
it.
Aline. Aline, is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
Yeah, very good. And it takes people years, Roxanne, and you've got it already. I just wanted to say the pronunciation of Janelle's name, just for future reference.
Okay, good.
Anya Nornu. She said it has a silent R.
Really?
Anya Nornu. Yeah.
Anya Nornu.
She was half joking that it's a silent R, or that it's an invisible R.
She's Nigerian descent.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I used to be a newspaper reporter, and it was misspelling and mispronouncing people's names was like a big no-no. So thanks for that information. Okay, we've heard from Rich, we've heard from Elaine. Karen, go ahead.
You pronounced that brilliantly.
Oh, wait, you're muted, Karen.
I was going to say the same thing about Janelle, because she's our representative, and she explained to me, she came by our house twice, and she explained to me that in Nigeria it would be spelled with a funny little diacritic over the O, which tells you that you have to put an R there.
Right.
So it's Anya Nornu. Yeah, the invisible R.
Nornu. Okay, great. Thank you. And let me see, Bob Alay is asking, what power do we have to get him dismissed, O'Connell, from the PRC? Well, he hasn't been approved yet by Senate rules, and then it goes to the full Senate. So that's our only chance, is to really put pressure on Senate Rules Committee members and all of our senators.
I was talking to somebody about this the other day too, and there are people who have been nominated for positions in the administration that have never been approved, and they've been serving in their position for years. And so it's possible that if the governor feels that the nomination is in jeopardy, she'll signal to some Democrats that this needs to not be raised in rules or on the floor. And we'll see.
Yeah. And I see Ralph is asking if we know when it's going to come up. I've been checking that Senate Rules Committee schedule pretty regularly, hoping they're not going to bury it in something. So we will let you know as soon as it comes up. But you don't have to wait. You can write to Senate Rules Committee members, and especially your own senator, and make the case. Excuse me. And under the bills we oppose, there's a link to a lot of information that you can use to form your talking points or your email points. So
it probably wouldn't be helpful to send it to my senator, but to a senator who's on the Rules Committee, I'm assuming, right?
Right. Katie Duhigg is the chair, so she's the one
chair.
who calls it or doesn't call it.
right.
And Leo Jaramillo is the vice chair.
And Linda Lopez, Brenda McKenna, Jerry Ortiz-Pino, Liz Stefanix, Mimi Stewart, and then there's 3 or 4 Republicans that I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I think that it's worth writing to anyone on that committee, because they have
Okay.
the power to draw Katie aside and say, look, we need to hear this.
Yeah, and somebody was telling, I'm sorry, it's probably somebody on this call had written to us and said they were communicating with Katie Duhigg. Maybe it was Jeff Selesky, and I don't know if Jeff's on tonight, but, and she was shocked. You know, we assume that these committee members know these things, know what's really going on, and they don't. They're just too busy, you know, they're unpaid legislators. Some of them have other jobs. I mean, it's really with a lot of these things, it's up to us to give them the information we have to warn them about what's going on. So
there isn't a bill. So how does that happen? I mean, do they just, I mean, I've been there before in
They'll
rules
just
where
list
they'll
it.
list like 15 people
Yeah.
and it's just, 15 minutes on each and it's a love fest, but I have a hunch this won't be a love fest.
Okay. Pam Rogers is saying there's a number of bills related to increasing access to behavioral health care. Yes, I know. I feel so bad. I wish we had, twice as many people to work on these things. But we don't, and we just can't manage it all. So,
well, it's not even just that too. It's like the people who subscribe, if we were sending them alerts 4 times a day because a late breaking bill was being heard, or we had 3 bills in one committee, or 3 bills in 3 committees, and I mean, it's just too much for the supporters.
Citizenry, right?
So we're trying to make it so that it winds up with a manageable amount you can respond to. It's not as if we're covering everything and we know it. And there's, I look through these bills and or I sit in a hearing and for something we have on our list, and I hear something about another bill and I just go, oh my God, how do we not have this on our list? That was like with Sol's geothermal bill, which is really an interesting concept. And we will support that. Or the injection thing. I wasn't there to listen to that. I was there for something else. And my jaw dropped when I listened to these guys.
Yeah, and people are commenting that Gail, just different bill, Gail Chasey voted against redistricting. And then that new guy, Republican bloc, voted for it.
Well, the Republicans want to get it through because it's the only chance they have of being able to get any power. Because if the Democrats draw the maps, they're not going to make it any easier for them.
Right. There's somebody's saying we may not have elected Gabe Vasquez without independent redistricting.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah. Indy, did you have something else to say, or should we look at the chat for your comment? Okay, I'm trying to go through chat to see what we've got here. Senator Hickey, I'm not sure.
For health issues, make these meetings more accessible and, respectfully, please be more inclusive when seeing people at your events that are disabled. We are not quote unquote stupid.
Oh gosh, no, thank you for that. I appreciate it. We will definitely work on the closed captioning. Unfortunately, we are not super techie when it comes to some of these things. So we learn by trial and error. So I apologize again for that.
We certainly didn't mean any disrespect to you when we were calling on you and not sure whether you had a comment or not. Didn't mean any disrespect at all.
Okay. I'm just scrolling through chat to see if there's anything else there that we should address. There's several things about redistricting. Yeah. All right.
I was going to ask about.
Is there anything else? I know, of course,
The closed captioning only. It is how some folks have been treated at your events.
Oh, I'm assuming you're talking about Zoom events because we haven't had an event in person in 3 or 4 years. But I'm really sorry about that. It's always good to hear what's going on. I admit sometimes we just aren't aware of it, so we need to be told. So I appreciate that.
If you could share in an email to us what some of your concerns are, some of the things we've done.
It was in the past and others told me about the way they felt.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. We haven't had a meeting in probably at least 3 years, but yeah, I'm sorry about that. I mean, it could have been the space that we used. So I'm not sure. I'm not trying to blame anyone, but yeah, if you want to share more details with us on that, we'd be happy to hear them. Okay, we've got Tyler, your hand's up. Go ahead.
I'm wondering if either of you can explain a little more about the plan regarding the Health Security Act and now it being where they're seeking $400,000 for more design work. Is that the original plan was for it to go through the joint Health and Human Services Committee for their staff to start working on it? Where is that not the same now?
It's pretty much the same. They're gonna, the money would, I'm looking at an email that I just got from Mary. It's $400,000 would cover most of the work they still have to do, but not all of it.
Well, but like Paul was saying, they're analyzing factors that increase healthcare costs. They're not studying. So I guess that's a little bit different. But the Health Security Act, as we know it, is not really being introduced. There's all these different facets that they're trying to get set up and through in the meantime, and then will they eventually introduce it?
They'll have to, but then they'll see, the thing is that when they go through this process of analyzing the cost drivers and can identify how to reduce pharmaceutical costs, can help, they identify how to support rural hospitals so they don't go bankrupt. If they can identify how to make it simpler for doctors to enter and reduce their administrative burdens, if they do all of those things, and that's all piled into the Health Security Act, then there's going to be a world of support for them from the medical community and from health professionals and so forth, because now we know what it is completely, and they're designing it with those people. So the hospital people are at the table, the doctors are at the table, and they're going to design something that works. And they're looking at, what has been most effective in other states and other countries. So, I think that the thinking is that when you just start talking about health security, that's where the governor in particular gets cold feet and, oh, this sounds radical. We don't want socialized medicine. We're not going to do this. And she also, I think, has significant donors from the insurance industry. That's the reason probably why the head of the insurance, the superintendent of insurance, was from the insurance industry. And so, this is a way to move the ball forward without calling it, health security.
Without raising those red flags.
Those red flags. Some people. And so we'll raise those flags once we've got all the ducks in a row and so forth. But this isn't really stalling things at all. It's just trying to continue the process.
Right, without, undoing it before they get there, yeah.
Well, it's just been through 2 years of study, of analysis and information gathering after 25 years of work on honing the bill. And it just keeps feeling like, having been on the board and having been a provider for 40 years, it just feels like this just keeps getting dragged out under the next step.
Absolutely.
I can imagine.
They didn't actually get to do anything last year, did they? Because the Secretary of Insurance never popped for the money.
They got money from the junior bill.
I know $100,000 and they spent $250,000.
Yeah. Well, we just have to trust the people that are running that campaign and hoping that they're doing the right thing. But I can imagine if you've been involved that long, it probably does feel like it's really drawn out. Okay, we are at 7 o'clock, so let's quickly go to Cindy and Elaine. Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is a quick discussion. I've been stewing about the Green Amendment ever since we talked about it earlier on. And it's sort of like, I know for a fact that I've had conversations with some representatives who have said what Paul indicated. Well, it's not going to get passed. I don't have time to work on it. And I'm wondering how to fit that into what it is that they're supposed to be doing, as opposed to just making it, I won't say easy for them to get through their 60 days, but that's essentially what we're talking about. And what kind of argument, how do they know that it's not going to get passed? I guess it's It's been some conversations that they've been having for during the interim period, or it's only been a couple of weeks. So it's almost like it's DOA.
So are you did you say Green Amendment, or are you talking about health security?
Talking about
Green Amendment.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Green Amendment.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's, yeah.
Well, you get on the Zoom tomorrow and we can ask them.
I can't. I would ask for me because I have a Democratic executive meeting that I have to go to for ward elections.
Okay.
And I can't miss it. So please ask
for you. Okay. Thanks.
Thanks.
Elaine?
Regarding what Dr. Taylor was asking about health security, I'm uncomfortable about how long it's taking also, but we always knew that the design process, even at best, would be very slow, and we have not had at best. But in the past year, the Office of Superintendent of Insurance did practically nothing on this, and it's maybe not that big of a surprise, and the reasons could be a lot longer than what we have time to discuss. But I wish Dr. Taylor had been at recent meetings and he would understand more of why things are the way they are right now. I think this may be a little bit of a Hail Mary pass. What's the bill that Senator Ortiz-Pino has submitted at this point? I really honestly don't know. I'm trying to keep the faith with this because I've been involved for like 20 years, but we're doing what we can do with it under the circumstances. And I think if we can continue to, if we can try to encapsulate it a little bit more. So with things like Medicaid expansion, there's more access for people to healthcare. The governor seems to be working at the access side, but we're not doing anything to control costs. And so what Mary Feldblum is saying right now is we have to be very definite about trying to control costs while we're trying to expand access. And that's something that seems like it should fly politically, and it's something that we just plain need to do.
Right.
And that's my best understanding of the situation right now, which may not be all that good.
Okay.
No, I think that's pretty much what Mary's explained to me.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I'm sorry we can't talk more about it because we are already running over, but and I apologize to everybody for that. But Ralph, do you have a quick comment?
Yeah, my quick comment was to Cindy Pabst, and I don't have any inside information on this, Cindy, except that what has happened in past, going back 2 years with the Green Amendment, is that any joint resolution has to go through Senate Judiciary, and the chairman of the Senate Judiciary is totally unfair, without a doubt. You know, the deck is stacked in that committee, and if he alone, the chair, decides that he doesn't want to have something heard, or he doesn't think it has a chance to pass, or he doesn't think it's needed, he won't schedule it.
And that's the calculation that Matthew McQueen is doing.
And that's the calculation, right, exactly, that I think a lot of these legislators make, is that, okay, we're going to do this, you know, we're the people's house, but we know the deck is stacked against us if it has to go through Senate Judiciary.
That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Okay, thanks, Ralph.
There's just tons of these little barriers and
people with too much power, you know, in these committee chair positions.
We got rid of
like
Patty Lundstrom.
Exactly.
We got rid of Patty Lundstrom, but we inherited Nathan.
Yeah,
Small,
we got rid of Dr. No, you know, John Arthur Smith, but you know, you get rid of one, another one pops up.
Guacamole.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, everybody. We really appreciate it. It's great to hear from you all. And join us tomorrow if you can. The info's on retakeourdemocracy.org under actions and events for that Green Amendment Zoominar. And then we'll be back in the huddle next Wednesday night at 6 o'clock.
Just curious.
Hope to see you then.
Do any of you have Meredith Dixon as your representative?
Okay.
All right.
You're recording tomorrow night, right? Tomorrow night will be Tomorrow night will be recorded.
Yes, it will be recorded. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Thank you.